Hello, nerds, and welcome to the Engadget Podcast. This is episode 35, TV Party. I am your host, Terrence O'Brien. I am joined this week by Dana Wollman. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. How about you?
I'm doing all right. I made the mistake of listening to a very depressing album before I came on air, which I'll talk about a little bit more later. But yeah, I heard you did your homework last night.
I did.
You finally watched Jaws.
Yeah.
Which we're also going to talk about later.
Yes.
Which I'm super excited about. We will eventually be joined by Chris Velazco. He is unfortunately stuck in traffic. So when you do hear a third voice all of a sudden that you're very confused by, that's going to be Chris Velazco. And he's going to be a very important part of this show because we're going to talk all about the new iPad later. And he is the one who wrote the review. So nobody's better qualified to talk about that than him. I was editing it yesterday.
Yeah. But, I mean, he's going to make sort of a Muppet-like appearance today. He's just going to pop out of nowhere, and that seems fitting.
Yeah. Does Velasco make any appearances that aren't Muppet-like?
No, he doesn't.
No. That's just pretty much his, standard form, right?
Yeah.
Just vaguely Muppet-like. But let's get right into it, because we are unfortunately a little tight for time today. Big Boss is coming into the studio right after our podcast, so we kind of got to get things moving, get out of here.
Yep.
So let's start with Flame Wars, as we do every week. This is kind of where we debate some of the biggest stories of the week. And I wanted to talk a little bit about YouTube TV. So that's finally launched now, right? In New York, LA, and San Francisco, Chicago, and Philadelphia.
And it's what we call a rollout.
Yes.
It's begun rolling out.
It'll eventually get to the rest of the country, I guess, eventually at some point. Mm-hmm. That's the idea. But sort of the big question for me is, considering the limited lineup of channels and all of the competition it faces in this market, all of these streaming live TV services, is it really a good value at $35 a month? So I think let's start with what are the prices of its sort of competitors. PlayStation Vue is roughly the same price, I think, at least to start. They have much bigger variety of packages though.
I'd have to check on PlayStation Vue. I think Sling costs less, doesn't it?
I think Sling starts cheaper but also can get more expensive. Mm-hmm. I think it's part of the problem is right now it looks like that YouTube TV is a very limited offering. They have one really basic set of offerings and one price point. Mm-hmm. And they're kind of hoping that either the software experience or the inclusion of YouTube Red is enough to really get their hooks in you.
Mm-hmm. Or even, just the brand recognition. But that's a strange thing because I don't think people think of Google or YouTube as a cable provider or a cable alternative even.
So I'm trying to pull up the pricing for these other ones. Sorry, this is being a little slow. So yeah, the cheapest PlayStation Vue one starts at $30. The cheapest Sling one starts at $20. Mm-hmm. The lineups have a lot of overlap between them. It's a lot of the same channels, but it does look like there's a bigger lineup of channels for the PlayStation Vue specifically. So for $30, it's 45 plus channels, including some stuff that you don't get from YouTube.
I don't use PlayStation Vue personally. I don't even have a PlayStation. But what you're saying matches everything I've heard about the Vue service, which is it might not be the one that comes to name first for a lot of people, but it is actually a good value in terms of what you get for the money.
I mean, so one of the big ones that seems to be missing on YouTube, and I may be wrong about this, so if I am, please feel free to tear me a new one in the comments, which is Comedy Central.
That stuck out to me also.
Yeah, and that's kind of a really big one, I feel like. And I know it's part of Sling TV. I don't think it's part of the base package, at least, on PlayStation Vue. I'm kind of looking through all of these now. I probably should have done this before coming on the show. But I know the Viacom channels in particular have been sort of problematic, it seems. They're stepping away from streaming, and that's a really big company, really big property to kind of be moving away from that stuff. I know they took all of their stuff off of Hulu. You can't watch The Daily Show on Hulu anymore, which is kind of a big deal.
Oh, it's going to piss off a lot of people.
I mean, it's one of the only reasons I have a Hulu subscription. Like, I'm legitimately considering canceling it because of that. Because I think the only show now at this point I watch on Hulu, the only purpose it serves for me is Last Man on Earth. And once that show is done, I don't know what I would have that for. Do you even have TV at all? Do you have anything, or are you?
What? How do you think I streamed the thing last night?
Well, you have Netflix.
Yeah.
I assume.
Oh, I see. I have a TV. I have a Roku stick in the TV, and I have subscriptions to Netflix and Amazon Prime.
Okay. So, but you don't have any live TV stuff. You are a fellow cord cutter.
Yeah, no, I have a cable box with DVR and everything.
Oh, so you are like you're old school. You've got the TV thing.
I'm not a cord cutter. No, I'm not. This is a bigger picture conversation. I'm not sold on the economics of it right now, and I think what we're talking about here kind of underscores that, right?
Yeah.
That for $35 a month, I would still need to cobble together some other services to get all the content I want.
Yep. So I will say the one thing that YouTube has that kind of appeals to me, and I haven't really seen this on other services yet, is they actually do offer local sports. So in addition to having like the networks, they also have it's NBC's local sports channels. So if you live in New England and stuff, you can watch Red Sox games streamed because they have that provider. I think it's...
And wouldn't be on the MLB account if your MLB account was tied to that region.
Yeah, well, that is...
I know you have strong feelings about that.
Makes me twitch.
Yeah.
Our archaic media system that just... I'm not meant to watch Mets games, apparently. That's just how it is. Can listen to them, but I can't watch them. So, yeah, like, that's kind of a big deal, though, and I'm kind of amazed that people aren't making a bigger deal of it. That's, like, been the one place where a lot of these sort of streaming services and a lot of cord cutters have suffered is live sports. You know, even if you have an HBO Now account, if you pay your $15, you can't watch pay-per-view HBO boxing, even if you pay extra for it. You have to have cable TV. You have to have access to traditional pay-per-view service. And that's kind of a deal breaker for a lot of people.
But are we saying this is maybe one of the few advantages of YouTube TV over its competition?
I think so. I think it's something that hasn't been made a big enough deal of, honestly. We'll see how it plays out. It's not enough for me because it doesn't have New York local sports things. Mm-hmm. It's only and it probably never will, unfortunately, because it's just the CBS ones. So again, I can't find it in front of me, but they have. If you're a Red Sox fan, you can watch those. I think Philly is on the same network, so I think if you're a Phillies fan, you can still watch. You can watch those. I'm willing to bet one of the Chicago teams is as well. I don't know about San Francisco, but they don't have the New York ones. And part of the reason they don't have the New York ones, and they probably never will, is those are partially owned by pay TV providers. So the Mets are delivered by SNY, which is partially owned by Verizon, and the Yankees are on Yes, which I believe is partially owned by Time Warner, Comcast, whatever the hell it is now. So those are just never going to come, and which is probably means I'm never going to buy any of these subscription services.
Okay, so local New York sports broadcasting is basically owned by a crew of different mafias that have divided up the region, and those mafias are corporations.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
That's how they lure you into it. They want you to buy their TV thing. So I mean, if you live in Boston and you're looking to cut the cord and you're a Red Sox fan, the $35 a month for YouTube might not be a bad deal. It probably offers you a little bit more value than PlayStation or Sling, at least as a sports fan. Outside of that, I'm not really sold on the value proposition here, especially because, I don't know, YouTube Red is kind of garbage. Have you watched any YouTube Red programming?
Not much.
No. I watched, is it Game Lab, Matt Pat, who is like one of these YouTube guys, and he did basically Mythbusters for video games. It was all right.
Mythbusters for video games.
Yeah.
It's a weird concept.
It is sort of a weird concept. So I've watched that. That was all right, and I forget the name of the show, but the guy who does Vsauce has another. They're really into their like Mythbusters ripoff shows at YouTube because it's the same sort of thing. It's another like, oh, we're gonna do like try and play out thought experiment kind of stuff in the real world and do Mythbustery things. It's all right. Vsauce is a cool channel, but I don't know if it plays out for a full half hour like properly produced TV show. So yeah, I don't know. YouTube TV, it's an interesting thing. Not sold on it, but I'm not sold on any of these yet, and clearly you're not because you're still paying Comcast or Verizon or whoever. I don't even want to know how much it costs.
It's not that bad.
No? Is it Verizon? Is that why?
No.
No? Okay.
I'm on Time Warner.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They are my mortal enemy. That is a topic for another day. Let's move on, though, and talk Netflix. More TV.
Yes.
They decided to abandon their traditional 5-star rating system and go for simple thumbs up and thumbs down. What was their reasoning behind this? Can you talk us through that a little bit?
Right. So they had the 5-star rating system, and apparently people were mostly landing somewhere on either pole of that spectrum. Give it 1 star or 5 stars. People, but weren't really giving nuanced ratings. And in experiments, Netflix found that basically in moving to a pass-fail model, thumbs up or thumbs down, they got more ratings, which is ultimately what Netflix is after, just a bigger volume of feedback. And I have to say, so we went with the headline, Netflix's overly simplified ratings are here. Behind the scenes, I lost a battle on that headline. I was in a minority of people who didn't like that headline. I don't think they're overly simplified. I think it makes sense. But I'm curious to hear why you would have preferred a 5-star system.
Because I see nuance in it. For me, movies and television shows are not simply an I like it or I dislike it proposition. And I appreciate the sort of granular control over my tastes. You know, I love Tommy Boy. Tommy Boy is a great movie. But objectively, Tommy Boy is not a great movie. And I don't want to give Tommy Boy 5 stars just because I love it so much, based partially on like my nostalgia for it. Because I know that if I give Tommy Boy 5 stars, then I'm going to have to deal with Netflix recommending me a whole bunch of garbage SNL movies I have no interest in. Like, I don't want Night at the Roxbury to show up in my queue. Like, I have no interest in watching that movie. So that, like, finer grain control, being able to say, like, no, it's a 3 because I like it, I enjoy this movie. Don't not resurface it if it comes off of Netflix and comes back. Like, I'll want to watch it again, sure. But don't necessarily recommend me everything that SNL has ever made a movie out of.
Well, so, I mean, that partially answers the question I would have had, which is, who are these ratings for? Are they for you, or then what? I mean, for me, I once tried to use the 5-star system in my iTunes library. I gave up on that real quick. But that was really just for me, right? The Netflix ratings, I also never really had the patience for that either, but you're saying you're invested in it because you believe in Netflix's algorithm and to some extent depend on it for your recommendations.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's value in building nuance there. I'm an avid... Oh, hey, look who's here, guys. Just come on in.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
How is it going?
Hey. So we're talking Netflix. Thumbs up, thumbs down, the death of the 5-star rating.
I'm a big fan.
You're a big fan?
Yeah.
By the way, welcome, Chris Velazco.
Hi, I just got here. I'm Chris Velazco, senior mobile editor, and New Jersey is the worst state.
Yeah, I mean...
We could have told you that.
Yeah.
Terrence has told me that.
I have.
If you ever get the chance to drag it out of him, get like the hot air balloon festival story out of this guy. It's incredible.
The Hot Air Balloon Festival was perhaps one of the worst experiences of my life.
Didn't you almost get into a fight?
Multiple times. I'm an impressive person that I can almost get into multiple fistfights in a parking lot at a hot air balloon festival.
I mean, we're going off on a crazy tangent, but just let me make sure I've got this straight. You almost got in a fight in a parking lot, got back in your car, presumably cooled off a little bit, and then repeated the process multiple times.
Twice.
That's still not a great look.
Yeah. I mean,
all right.
to be fair, I spent more time in my car trying to get out of the parking lot than I did at the festival itself.
Or probably getting home for that matter.
Yeah. So.
I'm sorry.
So we were talking about the value of having a nuanced rating system for movies and TV, the 5-star versus thumbs up, thumbs down. You're on the side with Dana. You think the thumbs up, thumbs down is good?
Oh, for sure. I mean, so I cannot begin to tell you the number of times I've sat down, thrown something random up on Netflix that I absolutely love, and just to see the star rating, they're typically like 1.5. It's like I like really trashy stuff. I keep hoping Netflix kind of picks up on that, but it never really does. So to take the sort of subjective quality out of it and just be able to say, hey, this is a good thing. Like you more likely than not, you will enjoy this thing. That's kind of what I'm after. Like I don't really need to know where it falls on a spectrum for the entirety of Netflix users. I think once it kind of gets an understanding for what we as people enjoy, it's so much easier just to say, hey, yeah, go for it.
And so that's the thing, right? Netflix's algorithm is their secret sauce. I'm sure a lot of R&D and money and time and resources have gone into that.
Right. Remember Netflix Prize?
Yeah, I do. And, they're not going to obviously share their secret sauce with us, but I have confidence that it goes beyond just the number of stars given. I'm sure it incorporates your recent and overall history of what you've listed, what you've streamed, and also how much time you've spent. Like Scandal isn't good, right? And
I've never watched it, so
Scandal sucks, but I'll binge watch it. And so that might be the more important stat, right? Not what I say I think of it, but the fact that I spend a lot of time watching it. And I'm sure Netflix has data on all this stuff.
See, here's my question is that more important and more valuable to you or more important and more valuable to Netflix? Because I feel like it's more important and more valuable to Netflix than to you.
But if they use that for their recommendation engine that you're using, that's good for you also.
I don't know. We do have to kind of move on, unfortunately, because we're running out of time. But I will say this before we go. Even with the star system, my recommendations are trash. Most of the time.
Do you let other people use your Netflix account?
Not anymore.
What about your wife?
She used to. But that's not why my recommendations are trash.
Okay.
So I happen to watch a lot of educational programming because I'm a nerd.
Fair.
So, like, I've watched Cosmos probably 3 or 4 dozen times because it's whatever. And I watch, like, a lot of, like, documentaries and educational programs about, like, space and technology. I have watched every episode of Nova that is on Netflix, like, multiple times. So for whatever reason, Netflix now just thinks I like, quote, science and technology documentaries, period. And that includes lots of garbage about, like, conspiracy theories and, like, spiritual, like...
Yeah, but in fairness, those are... I wonder if Netflix is looking at what you're into and thinking, quote unquote, hey, this is a very intelligent, rational guy. Let's throw him some weird shit that he's just going to find hilarious.
Yeah. So, but, like... Even with the 5-star system, it's really not always that good with the recommendations. I'm really concerned about what just simple thumbs up, thumbs down is going to do.
And really, adolescent Terrence just wants people to understand him.
Yes, I just want people to understand me. I just don't want 9/11 truther documentary showing up in my recommended viewing.
It's important to understand how some people think. I don't believe the words that I just said, but they sounded fairly good.